The first one will be by Dr. Ramesh, who is a palliative specialist. He will have a chat about intro. And then the whole journey was done by Dr. Ryan Lupton. He is a GP registrar in Colchester. And then what services we are providing from Way2MEDSCHOOL, Mrs. Karen Mcleod will discuss about and will tell you a bit more about. She's a very experienced occupational therapist. So I will hand over to mic to Dr. Ramesh to proceed. And as I told you, if you have any question, you can put down in the chat box. Any technical difficulty, just put down in the chat box. I respond via that. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm Dr. Ramesh, and you can see my surname. You might need at least 2 minutes to say and write down my surname, so don't worry about it. Thulavavenkateswaran. So I'm a palliative care specialist. And next slide, please, Ryan. The first one I want to tell about RAC Medics, because to make you aware about what is Way2MEDSCHOOL and what is RAC Medics. So RAC Medics is a registered company where we do a comprehensive medical education in various fields. So one of those is Way2MEDSCHOOL, starting from year 13 students getting into medical school, and also year 12 I've included, and Way2PACES. So PACES is the final exam for postgraduate exam membership Royal College of Physicians, MRCP. And the next one is Way2Palliative Care. So it's not only me, palliative care specialist, and then we have got people in the panel in the palliative care. So we could train people either at the generalist level or a specialist level in palliative care. So whenever you see anything like a RAC Medics or Way2PACES or Way2MEDSCHOOL or Way2Palliative Care, it's only us. Our vision is to train and mentor students because they have their aspirations to get into medical school, and we will fulfill those aspirations. And not only that, we need to build a strong foundation for them to become a fantastic and well-rounded doctors. Our mission, how we are going to do it. So we're going to do definitely the expert guidance and support for students in their journey. And it's not going to stop with that. So we could support them in the postgraduate professional development in whichever field they want to be a specialist by a team of highly qualified healthcare professionals. And we do have a comprehensive curriculum to support the journey with expert advice. Our values, passion, every one of us in this field, like medical field or any field, definitely we need to have the passion. And we are all very passionate with 20 years of experience. Excellence, yes, we strongly believe there's always things to learn, things to improve, and work towards excellence all the time. Teamwork, you can see 4 of us here, but there are plenty behind the scene. You will see them in the course and mock and various like avenues of Way2MEDSCHOOL. Integrity, we always say, we need to be honest and then keep it clear. And there's nothing behind the scenes or anything. We'll tell you exactly what's happening about the services, monitoring, progress, everything. Way2MEDSCHOOL team, I mentioned about the team. Apart from all 4 of us who are there, the first thing I want to mention about the medical educationist, an assistant dean. And she is in the University of Malaysia, which is linked with the University of UK. So she is an important part of our team. And we have got experienced doctors, clinicians, consultants in various specialties. Let's say in palliative care and psychiatrists, Obs Gyn, obstetrics and gynecologists, Anaesthetist, general practitioner, pediatricians. And we have a clinical nurse specialist facilities. And also we have a nurse consultants and then advanced nurse practitioners. And we do have a medical students representative as well here. And also few parents are there in the panel. We are a big team. If I talk to you about, introduce about each and everyone, that would be a separate session. So I'll keep it short, but we have got a big team. Curriculum, I'm sure you would have all had a look at the curriculum by email. And the curriculum, it's crystal clear. So what is our motive? And then what do we want to do in terms of outcome? And the thing about MMI, how our like a curriculum concepts relate to the MMI. And the last one, the most important thing is how learning is happening and then how we are there to support them. We started Way2MEDSCHOOL over the last year, October, and then we had a face-to-face course followed by face-to-face mock course in October and a mock in November. Followed by, we had an online course and a mock on the same day in December. And then we did one-to-one training and mentorship supporting students getting into the medical school. So before all these things, we also supported few students for personal statement in terms of reviewing. So when we got the feedback, we sent a feedback in Feb, end of Feb, it's 25th of Feb, and we got a feedback back from 10 students. And out of the 10, all were invited for at least 2 interviews, and 70% had at least 1 offer at the time of asking. So bear in mind, it's only Feb end, and we will send another one like end of March and April. We will know more about it. And if you see one of the feedback from one of the students here, it clearly says an interview was helpful, and then all of the support, and also learn a lot from practice interview. That's a mock or the mock interview. Say, and then especially teaching before, that's what she meant was a course followed by the mock exam. We had a course one weekend, and then the following weekend we had a mock exam. And there's the special thing about Diwali sweets. I'm not sure about this time, but last time we had a mock exam just the day before Diwali, so we give Diwali sweets. So maybe you can call this as a holistic approach to take care of the students and the whole family. Thank you, student, for mentioning particularly about sweets.
Thank you. Thank you, Ramesh. Like Dr. Zohaib Khan said, my name is Dr. Ryan Lupton. I'm one of the GP registrars working in Colchester in Essex. So I'm going to be talking about the way to med school. So it's not just a play on words. This is a journey that starts at least now if your child has not already started this journey. And it can be a stressful one, and it has the potential to become a little bit overwhelming. However, with good preparation, it should be a fairly smooth ride, and that's what we aim to help.
Yeah.
Oh, let me mute that. So, the way we like to think about this is not just this is a journey to med school, but actually this is the start of a career as a doctor. It all starts here in these moments where we're preparing to enter medical school and start that career actually help us a lot in shaping us as doctors in the future. And I'm sure we'd all agree with that in our preparations. So I'm going to take you through slowly about what is involved just in that application to medical school. What do we need to do? What should we be doing from now? What's going to be happening in the future? Because the best way to prepare is, one, to have a plan, but also to know what to expect. All right. So bear with me. I do like animations. So I'll go through this with my car. So this is a Way to Med School car. We're currently in March, and we're going to go through all the way to March next year, a kind of full cycle at the moment, and kind of what we would recommend, and also certain deadlines that you need to meet. So I'm going to first of all talk about work experience. So when we talk about work experience, you kind of think of, well, why do we do it? What do we need to do? How do we even go about doing it? And when do we have to do it by? So firstly, why do we need work experience? Well, kind of break this down into 2 reasons. So firstly, your child needs to figure out, is medicine, is being a doctor for them? Is this something they can see themselves doing? Or maybe they might have an experience and it might not be. But that's the first thing. We need to make sure that they want to do it. Secondly, it's an opportunity to show evidence that they're suitable to become a doctor, suitable to get into medical school. And essentially, this is their chance to use that experience to show off to the medical schools. So that's the why. And now we're talking about what. And actually, a lot of people think, I don't know, I'll go and shadow some surgeons in surgery. I'll do something else on a ward in hospital or something like that. But actually, there's so many things you can do in work experience. And really, we want to look at it from two perspectives. So one, work experience, you need to get something that will show that you know what it's like to be a doctor and understand the pros, the cons, but also about all healthcare, all work in the NHS and outside the NHS. What exactly does that job involve? So that's on the one hand. On the other hand, like I said before with the why, you need to be able to develop the skills and show that you've done certain attributes that make up a good doctor. So, for example, if we always talk about communication, and I'm sure all of you would think a good doctor would have good communication. But if you've got no particular evidence to show that you've had good communication, then that's going to be really tricky when you're trying to do your applications. So kind of things we think about for work experience. So if I'm talking about the understanding the role point of view, so you've got hospital, you've got GP practices, you've got pharmacies, you've got care homes. So that kind of list goes on. But then when we talk about showing off those skills, not only can we use those experiences, but I've seen people use really well experiences such as in societies, in school, leading those, or sports teams, for example, because that's a good way of showing leadership, and kind of thinking outside the box in that, but also working in retail, like charity shops, for example, where you interact with customers, things like that can all contribute towards that. So don't think linearly about work experience has to be in hospital. Maybe some of it could be healthcare related, but also think about other things you do that can also contribute. So when do we need to do a work experience? Well, if your child hasn't started already, I'd recommend looking into that as soon as possible. And usually we'd recommend doing it up until August would be the kind of time we'd like to have all your work experience done by. Because after that, you'll be preparing your applications and then starting to focus on interviews. All right. And then kind of how do you go about getting that work experience? So sometimes it's easy. Sometimes you might know someone within the sector and that might be quite free flowing. Sometimes there's initiatives at a hospital that allow you to apply and get some voluntary roles. But majority of the time, it's just about asking. So sending off lots of emails, calling up different places. Can I have a week's worth volunteering, for example? And I'd recommend doing that as well if you're not getting anywhere. Maybe think about if has anyone else had any luck anywhere else and going down those avenues. But I think if you persist enough, you shouldn't have too many problems with getting that experience. So that's the work experience side of things. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit in our car. I'm going to go around from June. So in terms of exams and things at the end of the school year, that's kind of when we're finishing up those. And then we're going all the way around to July. And obviously we've still got a little bit of time for our work experience. But then after that is when it starts to get a bit more involved. So I don't know if anyone here has heard of the UCAT. I'm sure some of you will. For anyone that hasn't heard of it, it basically stands for University Clinical Aptitude Test. And this is used for both medicine and dentistry courses as a kind of a scoring system to go alongside your application, which can help in the rankings of whether or not you get an interview and when you get an interview, and also to where you get an interview. This is used in multiple places. Most medical schools use this. I think mostly all will actually from this year. And essentially it's a test. It has 5 different domains within it. You get an overall score for 4 of the domains out of 3,600. And then you also have an extra component where you get banding, and that's for more of the situational judgment aspect of it. So usually you sit this exam. The opening windows are from the 8th of July. So that's the earliest you can sit this exam. And the 26th of September is the last day you can sit this exam. So you can do it at any point during these dates, providing there's availability in your area. Usually they're done in Pearson VUE centres. So if anyone's done a driving theory test recently, it'll be in those kind of areas. And you're allowed to sit this exam once per year. So you can't sit it early on, get a bad score and then do it again. You only get one opportunity at this per year. So it's quite important. And how we usually recommend you go about this is to have 1 month of revision leading up to it. And there's lots of resources. I'd suggest, if you don't know much about it, go to the UCAT website and have a read around what it involves, what they recommend, what resources they have for free, and kind of think about when might be the best time to do it. So looking at past students who have done it, they kind of recommend doing it earlier on, maybe when they finish school. You've got that little bit of time there over the summer holidays. But if you want to keep the momentum going from school, maybe start that revision straight away for a month and then maybe sit the exam in July, August time, get it over and done with, and then you can focus on the rest, like work experience and the rest of your application, which I'll mention now. So the next bit is the UCAS application. So this has multiple facets to it. So the reason I've mentioned starting it from July, because we need a substantial amount of time to work on it, but I think that's probably a good time to start to collate everything together that we've been doing so far. So what makes up this application? Well, first of all, there's a lot of the administration side of things, so I won't delve into that too much. But then you've got choosing university. So this is quite important, and most university courses, if you're applying, you get 5 options. However, for medicine, you can pick 4 options for medicine, and you get 1 extra slot to choose a different course other than medicine. And actually, people think, oh, okay, well, we'll just choose 4 universities. Let's say you live in London, you want to pick 4 London ones, and fine, you can do that. But it's quite important you do your research about the universities. They all value different things. And for example, you could get one university that, in order to get to interview and what they're looking for, they will just rank you on your UCAT score. And then they'll look at everything else after they've ranked everyone with their UCAT scores, look at who's got an interview, and then they'll maybe consider the other things. Whereas there's other universities that will take into account lots of things. So they have scoring system based on the application itself, for example, the personal statement, which I'll talk about in a second, the UCAT score, your work experience, your A-level predicted grades, your GCSE grades that you've already achieved. So many things are taken into account. So it's important to do your research about the different universities and exactly what they're looking for and what universities you might have better chance of getting into based on what you've already achieved and what you think you might achieve as well. So another aspect of the application is the personal statement. So I like to think of this as a way you can show off. So looking at all the work experience that you've done already, this is your opportunity to highlight what you've done and explain what you've learned from it, and also why your learning from that would make you a good doctor. Actually, this is a lot of the time not done very well, and students don't fulfill the potential they can get out of all their experiences done. So although it may seem like, oh, it's just a statement just to add on to the application, not too important, it's actually very important. And if we can do that well, that will help to set you above the rest of students, because it's poorly done usually. And then to tie all this together is the deadline. So the application deadline for medicine is a lot earlier than other universities, and it's the 16th of October. So bear that one in mind. And that's why we're saying it's so important to start early, around July for most of these things, but much earlier in the work experience, because we need to make sure we have lots of time to get all of this done. So if we fast forward a little bit with our car and go around the corner, so let's say we've just done our application, we've applied to med school. Can we sit back and relax? No, we cannot. because we need to prepare for interview. And yes, we need to wait for hearing if we've got an interview, but we think, especially if you've been with us, it's pretty now on the cards. If you've got a good application, you should be getting to interview. If you've got a good UCAT score, you should be getting an interview. So this is where the preparation starts, and it's quite important because the most competition is actually getting an interview offer. Once you get to interview, I think around, depending on the university and how many people they invite, but at least I'd say around 50% of people or students that get to interview will end up getting an offer from the university. So actually, this is very important to nail that interview and get that right and set you above the rest. A poor interview may mean that other people have been preparing a lot might get above you. So there we are, med school interviews. So they usually run from end of November and they can go all the way up to March. And the interview offers don't all come at once at the end of November. Sometimes offers come later in January. Sometimes they even come at the end of February to have it in as a March interview. And sometimes they even go on longer, depending on how many people the university wants to interview. So it can vary depending on universities and how many applicants they want to see. So then that's the last part, and then we go towards the finish line there. I just want to talk a little bit about Way2MEDSCHOOL and where do we fit in on this journey. And actually, we've already started fitting in because you're all here seeing us tonight. And actually, from now onwards, all the way to the end of the interviews for this particular journey, we're going to be here if you need us, when you need us, to offer support in all of those things I've talked about. So what exactly do we offer? Carol will talk about this a little more in detail. I'm going to quickly just put up a little signpost here. So we would also like to do a talk for students after this talk, which we haven't decided on a date yet, but that will be upcoming. So keep an eye out for that. And that will go in more depth about what we expect from students to be preparing and provide more detail in how best to prepare. Then we get to the end of October, we can see a signpost there, and that's when we're thinking of starting to run our courses, which Carol will tell you a bit more about. And then from November onwards, we're thinking about doing more courses as well as interview preparation. And that can be in the form of face-to-face, but also online, depending on preference. We also offer one-to-one sessions, and they go all the way from November onwards. So whenever someone might pick up an interview offer and want to prepare, we're here to go through one-to-one, work on things and go from there. And like Dr. Ramesh said earlier, a lot of our one-to-one students actually ended up getting offers from universities, and it's still pending. They may even get more than just the one. So so we've got our fingers crossed for them. And so I'll finish off just by having the cart go off there, because actually the journey doesn't stop there. Of course, once you get an interview offer or offers, hopefully you get to the point where you need to get your A-level grades. And then once you've achieved those, you then get to medical school. And then from then on, we're still here because we have so many things that we offer, and we plan to branch out as well to the UCAT, which is one of the exams you do at the end of medical school. And then also we help doctors in applications in, for example, palliative care, but also Dr. Ramesh does it in PACES as well, which is for the acute medicine doctors. So I'll finish there and I'll hand over to Carol.
Thank you, Brian. Good evening to you all. I'm Carol Mcleod, specialist nurse practitioner and examiner. So what I'm just going to talk through this evening is just to explain in a little more detail, what do we offer our students? Next slide, please. So we offer the following, as you can see on the slide. Firstly, we offer a personal statement review. We also run medical school interview courses and medical school mock interviews, as well as one-to-one individual tutoring. So just thinking for a moment about the personal statement review, you might think, well, what are you going to do? What does that mean? So just give you a little bit of a flavour of what that means, as you can see from the slide. What we do with a personal statement is we offer a thorough and detailed review. This entails 2 expert reviewers going through that personal statement and providing very valuable feedback in a timely fashion within 48 hours. And a personal statement review also involves a one-to-one session with one of our expert reviewers on Zoom. So that is the whole package for a personal statement review. So just to go through that just once more, it's a thorough and detailed review by 2 expert reviewers, and feedback, which is so important, is within 48 hours. So the student isn't waiting for days, wondering when they're going to get feedback. They get it quickly. And we recognise the value of that. And also the hugely valuable one-to-one session with an expert reviewer on Zoom. So just moving it on to the next part of what we offer, the interview courses. So as you can see from the slide, these courses that we offer are online or face-to-face. And areas of the curriculum are covered. And as Dr. Ramesh said earlier, the curriculum was emailed to you. And if you find that you haven't received that email or need another email with it, please do let us know. So all areas of that curriculum are covered. And what's so hugely valuable, particularly on those courses, is that we allow plenty of time for students to ask questions, have a discussion and a debate about anything that's come up, particularly in that interview course. And that does trigger lots of incredibly interesting dialogue and debate and real opportunity for students to really learn from each other as well, not only from us. And it creates a very dynamic atmosphere and a really strong, positive environment for learning. And also it's fun as well. And part of the interview course, we offer one-to-one tutoring and support, which can be arranged if required and if needed by the student. Next slide, please. So following on with the mock interview, so we've gone from the course and now we're going on to the mock interviews. And as you can see from the slide, again, we offer online or face-to-face mock interviews. And each student is interviewed individually. And what that looks like is each student has what we call a common multiple mini interview station. They're known as MMI topics, which are covered by each station. So, for example, there could be eight or 10 stations where each student is interviewed individually by an examiner, and common multiple mini interviews, MMI topics, are covered. And at the end of that session of when every student has visited each station, interview station, the student is given a comprehensive marking sheet with comments provided by the examiner. So they have a really good evidence and completed marking sheet by each examiner, giving really valuable comments and feedback and marks, showing them where they've done well and where they might need to improve. So that provides a really hugely valuable feedback that students go away with. And again, a bit like the interview course, group questions, discussion, feedback and reflection is covered. And as you can imagine, that again creates a really dynamic, interesting forum for candidates and students to, again, learn from each other, ask as many questions as they like, And it's a very, very valuable time where students reflect on their marking sheet, they reflect on their interview stations. We can provide yet more feedback for them. And it's a very positive way to finish that interview course. Next slide, please. So just thinking for a moment about the cost of the services that Way2MEDSCHOOL provide. And as you can see, and I'll read it through with you. So the personal statement review by expert reviewers includes a half-hour discussion on Zoom. And that is a cost of £150. And as you can see, the online medical school interview course is £50. And the online medical school mock interview course is £100. So those two are costed individually there, the interview course of £50 and the mock interview course of £100. But if both of those courses were booked together, we're able to offer a discount. So there's a £25 discount if both online courses are booked at the same time. And just thinking of face-to-face now, so face-to-face medical school interview course is £75. And the face-to-face medical school mock interview course is £125. But again, as indicated with the online course, if both of those face-to-face courses are booked at the same time, we're able to offer a discount, again of £25, if both the face-to-face courses are booked at the same time, £175. So you may already have Dr. Ramesh's contact details, his email address and phone number, but it's available here on this slide if you need it. And here we have the QR code, which we ask you to look at, please, and to provide us for feedback. It's got certain questions there, and we'd love to have your feedback. And this also starts the question and answer session.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Thank you
And
very
over
much.
to Dr. Zohaib.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have few questions from our audience. So the first question is UCAS application an online application and need to submit once UCAT score received? Should we apply separately for each university?
Yeah, I can take this one. So is it an online application? Yes, it's done online. It's through the UCAS website. And usually what happens is, so you'll know your UCAT score anyway, because it's given to you on the day that you do the test, which is, I guess, an advantage. So you know what you're doing before you can then apply for what medical school you'd like to go to, and you can maybe tailor it based on your score. When you apply to your universities, they automatically, after you've sent an application, they will then get your name, and they will then get that UCAT score automatically added onto your application. So you don't need to do anything about it. It will done automatically. So you don't need to worry about that, but you'll know what your score is prior to that.
Thank you. The next question is, thank you for arranging this session. Please, can you advise if the interview preparation for MMI would resonate and help with the interviews conducted in top schools as Oxford and Cambridge, where the focus would be more on science and analysis? I will request Dr. Ramesh to comment on this.
Yeah, before that, can we take off the slide so that we can have a full view so that people can see us who's speaking, and then at the end of the session
We will share the...
Yeah, excellent. Right, so this one, MMI won't resonate fully with Cambridge and Oxford because it's completely different. As you mentioned, it's based on the science as well. And then we, at the moment, won't cover Oxford and Cambridge. We do MMI. We do train and support people for panel interviews. And also the special mentions about Queen Mary's, London, because they give an article or a journal like 2 weeks before the interview, and then we have done it, and like 2 of our students got an offer this time, actually. So we won't cover Oxford or Cambridge at this minute. But the preparation, when you ask, is completely different. We need to add something extra on top of what we are doing for the MMI.
Thank you. And the next question is, how long should the work experience last? Is there a time limit, that is a set number of hours?
So I can take this one. So there's no set time limit. There's no set amount you need to do. For example, some people could have an amazing experience within a week and get a lot from it and reflect really well on it. Someone can do a month's worth, but not reflect on it very well. And actually that week would be more valuable than the month's worth, for example. So it's one about the quality of it, but also it's two is what you manage to get out of it and what you can reflect on it to use in your application. So I guess in short, no, it doesn't matter. There's no set amount of hours.
Thank you, Ryan. Please also advise as how many university can student apply at a time to the UCAS application? Yes, Ryan, please.
Yeah, so I can take this one as well. So for medicine particularly, you can apply to 4 different universities. You can have an extra 5th application, but that is for another course other than medicine. So you can only do 4 for medicine.
Thank you. Any updates with BMAT?
As far as I'm aware, they're not doing BMAT anymore.
Good. Is personal statement still need? I think that is important. We need it.
So what we've seen at the moment, and yes, I understand you may have seen something that says personal statement is no longer going to be used at some point. However, for 2025 entry, they are still using personal statement at the moment.
Is there special training for Oxbridge Medical School? I think Dr. Ramesh has answered. It's a separate training program. We haven't touched it, but we will in the future. We'll look at it. All right. Thank you very much for asking the question. Any other question? Anything anyone is not clear about?
Right, there are quite a few questions coming on directly to me. So one thing is, I think Ryan can tell this. Can they do work experience during GCSE year?
You can do work experience whenever you'd like to. It can be whenever. I mean, that's great if you're starting that early, and that definitely won't be a bad thing to do that. I'd maybe encourage that as well, because early on you can see if this is something you're going to be enjoying or not. And then having done the early experience, you can then build on that with something else to add on to that as well. So I would say, yeah, absolutely.
One more thing.
Go on. Do you have
direct message? But I'm not sure about it. I have to inquire and come back. I'll check whether Ryan knows about it. It's a home student status, like meeting local residence 3 years, but settled status not met yet, require 1 more year for settled status. So the question was, this situation, university consider as a home student or first year, any concession? Please advise.
I'm not sure about the specifics on that one, so we'd have to look that up, but we can try and get back. Yeah.
Okay, so there is another question regarding BMAT. Post BMAT, what happens this year? If BMAT is not there, what's going to happen?
So I think all of it is UCAT now. So no need for BMAT at all. So it's I think those ones that were having BMAT now have moved over to UCAT, as far as I'm aware.
So the next question, which we were expecting, do you offer UCAT tutoring? So we are working on it. We haven't decided. Hopefully we will share the news in due time. We're working on it. We are hoping to launch as soon as possible, but we wanted to come with a plan. What would the team recommend for UCAT Medify Med portal? Yes, Ryan.
So in terms of UCAT, I think the main resources that I've seen that are really useful is actually the UCAT website and the free resources, and there's quite a few of them. There are other resources out there, and some you pay for. But I think actually the best that I've seen myself and what students in the past have used has actually been the official UCAT preparation.
Thank you. In UCAS, we can apply both medicine and dental in single application, or is it a separate application?
In terms of medicine and dentistry, I'm not entirely sure because I don't see this very often at all. Usually people are one way or the other. I have a feeling if you still just get those 4 allocated sections, I'm not sure if you can add the 5th one as dentistry, but it's going to be very tricky because you can only write 1 personal statement. So it might look a bit odd if you've got 4 for medicine, 1 for dentistry, or any other amount, that you might disadvantage yourself on one side of that.
Yeah.
Ryan,
Yep.
I can answer this. So
Yes.
as far as I know, I don't think we can apply both in a single application, either this or that. And then, like Ryan said, 4 medicine, 1 allied subject, or 4 dental allied. Either you have to make up your mind, become like a medicine side or dental side. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramesh and Ryan. So yeah, obviously we are getting this question a lot about the UCAT. So hopefully, I think we'll be able to give some news in few months' time. So where are the Way2Meds face-to-face session held, please? All right, that's a good question. So I can answer this. We usually aiming at the moment in Essex, but we are very much interested to do around the London, somewhere midway between Birmingham and London, mainly aiming to West or East, South London. The reason behind it, we have a lot of our students coming from up north, Midland, and they showed interest. So it's all depend upon, obviously, of the number. We can arrange, that's not a problem around the London, but mainly it is near Chelmsford.
And is it okay to ask, like, in which area are you thinking, or no need to specify the city, but the county?
Yeah. If you are, yes, you can show your interest as well if you think that is more convenient. London or Essex would be great. That's good. Yeah. So that is obviously for our team. We have to look at the other faculty. The reason behind this is not only just a course. So we need a mock, and mock need 8 examiners. So we have to look accordingly. But yes, we will look into it.
100%. So no worries about it, because Chelmsford, last time we did it in Chelmsford, and then being a center point, we got everywhere, like Basildon, Romford, in and around, and also London. So Essex is confirmed. There's no doubt about it.
The other thing I was thinking, Ryan, is it all right if we can share this journey pathway?
Yeah, no problem. Let's
It
get
will
that.
be I think it will be very helpful for the parents.
I'll leave it
Look
as-
on the dates and what services they can opt for. Can you please give some example of UCAT practice questions?
So in terms of examples, I mean, there's plenty on the UCAT website. In terms of kind of domains, you've got things like verbal reasoning, you've got quantitative reasoning, you've got the SJT proportion, as 2 others escapes me at the moment. But it's to have a look on there, because it's hard to say just talking about them. It's more about how it's presented. So one section, for example, in terms of, you've got to read long paragraphs and pick out keywords. Others is maths related. Others are related on patterns and abstract images. So there's lots of different sections on it. It's hard to really give examples, but just I'd recommend going and having a look at exactly what it involves in a bit more detail. And there's plenty of good videos online as well, for example, on YouTube, as well as the UCAT website, which explains it in more detail than we're able to today.
And if there are no questions, kindly get the QR code and then do the feedback. If anyone misses to do, we can send by email as well, not a problem.
So it's very important. We wanted to hear from you people for our improvement, feedback, anything you concern about, which is not clear. You can put in comment section as well. But yes, please do leave a feedback for us. So I think if there is no more question, then we can close this session for today. And we're happy to answer any question. As I said before, you have contact detail of Dr. Ramesh, and there is an email which can goes to the admin, and then they can redirect to relevant team member. So I again thank you all for joining us today. I wish you good luck with your kids. Hope to see you soon. The last question before, if the work experience due outside the UK, I can understand for this statement you think whether the work experience done outside the UK is validated. Ryan, you can answer this particular point.
Yeah, you can, yeah. And we actually had some students when we was doing our one-to-one sessions who did have experience outside the UK, and I think that actually adds onto kind of the interest that you kind of give towards the medical school, because you've not only seen healthcare here, but you've seen how healthcare is other side. You're able to compare. So I think that's a really good experience, and if you're able to get that, then actually that can help a lot. If it means that that's the only experience you can get outside the UK, then that's still fine, because the role of a doctor, although kind of it works slightly differently in different healthcare systems, it's still fundamentally the same. The core values of what we're trying to do is exactly the same in different countries. So actually that can be a really good experience, and I'll implore you to consider that if that's an option.
I would like to just add on this, because in terms of outside experience, yes, it is helpful as an add-on. But if only you have outside, see, it must be challenging for us to demonstrate. For example, we link everything here, like a general medical council, like a practice guidelines, each and everything we say. So if you do it outside, I don't know, for example, let's say India, it's very, very difficult to link those characters and skills and everything over there. So I would say, yes, it's adds on, but that should not be the only thing, because the explaining and demonstrating the competency becomes challenging.
Yeah, completely agree.
So I think there's no more questions. So I think we'll say good night to each other, and hope to see our team and students soon in our first session. Thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Good night.
You.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.